I'm Dee Wallace, and I'm here with you for this hour for questions and answers and to have fun. Somebody let Robert know that you can hear me. Yay, awesome. Huh. Probably the big attack scene. The big attack scene is intercut so magnificently. It's myself and the stuntman and the stunt woman and the real dog. And of course, it's really, really high emotion, high action, high reaction. And it was tricky to do it with the stunt guy in the dog suit. I originally was supposed to do it with the real dog, but at the last minute, our producer, Dan Blatt, decided against it because if I got hurt, obviously the film would have to shut down. And how we got that with the stunt woman was the dogs were all trained to go after toys. And that particular dog was trained to go after a toy that hung around her neck. And when she would lean forward, that was the dog's cue to go after the toy. And when she pulled back, the dog was trained to pull back. And these dogs were so magnificently trained by Carl Miller that they got it in one take. And the director, Louis Teague, said, "Cut, we got it." And the stunt woman came forward and said, "Yes," before anybody had a hand on the dog. And so the dog leapt for his toy and got her nose instead. And so, of course, they rushed her to the hospital. Everything was okay. They sewed it back on, but that's why they don't let the lead actors in a movie do their own stunts a lot of times. Although I did a lot of them in Cujo. Not at all. I have a huge fondness for dogs. I've had them all my life, mostly rescues. I work for animal rescue and Actors and Others for Animals and Delta Rescue out here. You have to understand what you saw on screen were 5 very well-trained dogs going after toys. So they would call action and the director would go, dig for your toy. And so he would start digging with his paws and barking hysterically, but it was just a big game for them. It looked scary, but it was a game for them. So they were never, dauntingly scary. Yeah. Okay. What was it like making ET? Well, every movie that you do is a lot of work while you're doing it. Very long hours, although ET was more manageable than most. We started at 7 and worked to 7 because we shot in sequence and it was all the kids. So I lucked out on that one because I had the kids to work with. Um, Stephen tried to set up very much a family feel on the set. Uh, the kids and everybody threw hoops and played, basketball most of the time. Drew hung out in my room quite a bit. And it was kind of a family offset as well as on. We never knew what Stephen was throwing to some of the other actors, and he liked to improv a lot in that way, which is great for me because I never like to know what's coming. I just kind of act in the moment and then it's all real. So I had a really good time as an actress shooting E.T. Oh, dear God. I think if they ever did a remake of E.T., I'd be crazy not to be in it. And I hope they never do a remake of E.T. or even a sequel to E.T. It's a classic, and I'm happy that Spielberg's left it that way. Stephen King was on set in Cujo at the very beginning, like the first couple of days, or in the right before we started. Came down to visit. He, um, took a pass at the script. I think that's always in his contract that he gets that, and uh, he's a very gentle man. I really like Stephen, and yeah, he reminds me of kind of a college professor, actually. I'm recognized in different circles for different things. If I go to Disneyland, I'm inundated with ET, obviously. The horror conventions, it's a toss up between ET, Cujo, and the Howling. Um, it just depends on what you're into and what genre the event that you're at is highlighting, really. I go out to do a lot of horror conventions, and obviously you're going to attract the horror fans that are more into, but everybody's a fan of ET. It crosses everything. So I think I think remakes can be, but they're usually not. Uh, Somebody sent me a thing that Sun Classic is supposed to be redoing Cujo, and I kind of laughed. Yeah, Robert, I kind of laughed. Um, First of all, it's Sun Classic, and to redo Cujo, I mean, what are they going to do? CGI the dogs? Uh, I I don't know. I haven't seen the new Carrie. So I can't comment on that. But The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes wasn't even like the original film. The new Hills Have Eyes was a slasher film. The original was a horror film, and I think that's probably the biggest difference in what we call horror films today. That really they're not the classic horror films where you're really interested in the characters and you develop a story, and it makes sense and you're invested in the characters. The new films are kind of like, hi, here's six characters, let's see how gruesome we can kill them. That's not a horror film, that's a slasher film. I have quite a few new projects actually coming out. I have a horror film called Two Bedroom, One Bath. I have a horror film which I'm really excited about that my daughter stars in, and I have a wonderful supporting role. I love how the tables are turning. Um, Called Zombie Killers. You've probably seen it all over the internet. It's been advertised and hyped so much on Twitter and Facebook, and now we're in discussions. They're in discussions for distribution already. There's a sequel planned that my daughter Gabrielle Stone. If you don't know her, Google her, IMDb her, because she's really up and coming, especially in this genre, and she's got a lot of things coming out. Um, and I was also in the new Beach Boy movies, Love and Mercy. I play Elizabeth Banks' mother in it. And I don't know, there's two or three others. I'm telling you, I do so much. Uh, smaller films now. I like to go in and help out new filmmakers, first of all. And I'm very, very busy. I do healing work, and I am an international healer, and I'm very, very busy in that. So between that and my radio shows, which I would love to invite everybody to join me on, if you go to iamdeewallace.com, you'll find my radio shows and all the cool stuff that I'm doing, including, clips and stuff that are on there. Oh, thank you. Thanks. That was a real privilege to do the after school special about AIDS. We were one of the first, one of the first movies of the week. It really was a movie of the week, even though it was called an after school special. I did it with my friend, the director, Arthur Seidelman. And it was just a real honor to lovingly portray a real family in a situation that had to deal with this. So, yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and what I consider, part of the blessing of being an actor, that you can get out and bring these things to the consciousness of the collective. Well, I didn't go out looking for horror movies. Horror movies found me. The first movie I did was a religious film called All the King's Horses. And what followed was The Hills Have Eyes. And, then I did 10, not a horror movie. Then I did The Howling, horror movie. Then I did E.T., not a horror movie. But after Cujo, and Critters and all that, it just, I did a lot of non-horror on TV in the movies of the week that were so big in the 80s and 90s. I think horror films gravitate toward me because I'm an actor that has all the capabilities that horror films like: vulnerability, emotion. I have a lot of emotion at the surface. I'm a great screamer. And, I've got this, what Blake Edwards called this innocent quality that you just want to help, you want to love, you want to savor. And as an actress, I really love playing a big arc. I love, like the Frighteners gave me a beautiful arc where you start out and you think she's the victim and the weak one, all the way over into her being the killer and the powerful one. And I like characters like that, especially women, that rise to the occasion and save the day through a very big arc in the storyline. So I'm drawn to them because I get to really act a lot. I like doing romantic comedies. Would I want to make a career out of it? I think it would bore me to death. Oh, I prefer to challenge myself as an actor, and you never leave who you are. So, I didn't have a child when I did ET, but internally, every woman knows what it's like to be a mother because we've all had mothers. And, Cujo, the same thing. I didn't have children when I did Cujo, but I know what it's like to love someone and be willing to give your life for them. And even the Howling, you know, that to me, I always look in a much higher, more spiritual way at a lot of these films. And the Howling to me was about the battle of the good and evil within all of us. And we always have control over the evil, what we call evil, our weaknesses, if we so choose to exercise that control. But a lot of people don't. And they go, okay, it's just easier to give over to the dark side of me, which is anger and jealousy and lust and all that stuff. So, you know, call me square. I look at all my films as films that have a higher statement behind them, and that my job is to bring the true person, even if it's for a flash of a second, to bring the truth of that person forward so that you can see their soul for a moment and understand who they are, really. I did not have to audition for E.T., but I had to audition for a film he did previous to that called Used Cars. And when I auditioned for Used Cars, he went, wow, that's the quality I want in the mother in E.T., because he didn't want any adults in E.T. And he always thought that I had this childlike vulnerability, which is the same thing that Blake Edwards said. So that's why it was so incredibly exciting to me just to get the offer. And it was incredibly exciting when Peter Jackson hired me for the Frighteners, that I could let loose this other side of me, which people went, oh my God, we didn't even know Dee had that part in her. And for an actress, that's a ride. I did enjoy it. I did have fun. And part of that is really real, because during the Frighteners, my husband of 18 years, Christopher Stone, passed away. And I had to come back and put his service on and take my little girl back to shoot with me. I traveled across the world 4 times in 2 weeks. And a lot of the end of the Frighteners, I shot literally days after his death. Uh-oh. I said, uh-oh. Without naming names, have there been any actors, actresses, and directors? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, acting isn't any different than life. You work with kind people, you work with assholes, you work with people that don't know what they're doing, you work with people who want to control you. And so, absolutely yes to all of the above. And it's part of your job as an actor to be able to stay professional and find a way to deal with them. Oh, jeez. I didn't see the remake of The Stepford Wives. Actually, I didn't even know they'd done a remake of The Stepford Wives. So, but the original one, I had, I think, what, 2 lines? I was Nettie the maid. Um, it was pretty exciting for me at the time. I had just gotten to New York, and I was actually sitting in an office ready to go in to interview for a temporary secretarial job. And, you know, they came out and they looked at me and they came over and said, "Are you an actress?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And they said, "Would you like to be in a movie?" And I went, "Yes, I would." I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, you know. Boy, working with those three chicks, that was educational, watching everything that went on that set. You know, there was Paula Prentice and Catherine Ross and Tina Louise. Talk about three different personalities. Wow. It's interesting. Actually, working on Critters, I didn't work that much with the puppets. Most of my work was with the family. And I have very fond memories of Critters, and I just watched it again with my daughter. I think it really holds up. I think the performances are great. I mean, the critters were silly. They were these little hairball things that literally they'd stand off to the side and roll them in to the scene, right? So, but it played great on camera, and it's campy, you know. Critters is a campy movie. It's scary and it's funny. Uh, I think the best thing that came out of Critters in the long run for me was that I was introduced to Scott Grimes, who played my son, whom I'm happy to say I got taken onto my series Together We Stand after that. I said, "You got to see this kid. He's perfect for this." And he got the part. Oh, probably 100. I mean, I'm over 160 movies now. So, um, I've had experiences that changed my life for the worse, and I've had many experiences that changed my life for the better. I mean, Cujo, when I finished Cujo, it changed my life health-wise. They treated me for exhaustion for 3 weeks. I contracted a virus called Coxsackie, which wreaks havoc on your nerves and your nervous system, and didn't know it for 6 months. Um, and that's the film I'm proudest of. And when I finished Cujo, I went, "My God, I think I can do anything," because I had to. I mean, every scene you see, or every shot, we probably did 12, 15 times, because you've got a 4-year-old kid and a dog. And when they work at the same time, that's when it gets printed. So you have to be there 100% all the time. And it was exhausting mentally, physically, and emotionally. But I'm really, really, really proud of that. The Howling, on the other hand, Christopher and I were engaged. So the whole thing was, let's put on a show, and we got to be together and stay in one trailer. And, you know, it was a lot of fun working with Joe Dante, and it's just cool. I mean, we were in love. It was a whole different experience. We worked together on Cujo too, but we were kind of an old married couple by that time. And of course, E.T. changed my life. Everybody knew who I was after E.T. It was the beginning of Dee getting big, but it was also the beginning of Dee pulling back into her smallness. If you read my book, Bright Light, which is about my career and everything I learned during it, You get a lot of awesome stories about the highs and the lows in my career. What's it like doing voiceover work for cartoons? Are they referring to Rob Zombies? Do they say? Um, well, first of all, I would do anything for Rob Zombie and have. Um, when he called and said he was doing that and he wanted me to voice one of the she wolves, and I said, well, Rob, I do healing work. So, because Rob can get out there. Uh, and he said, well, no, Dee, I think you're going to be okay. But, I mean, they're she wolves and they have big breasts because their character. I said, well, okay, I'll do it, but I get to have the biggest breasts. So, working with Rob is just always a kick. Lords of Salem, which I'm happy to say, is the #1 seller of all time for Anchor Bay, as far as video sales so far. And, all of us went in, everybody in that movie, it was Rob's first gig on his own. And, we all went in and worked for scale because we love him so much. That's hardly, that's not really heard of very much out here. And that's how much he's loved in the acting profession. He's just a really cool guy. Ah, Rockadoodle, and then I've got some other voiceover things also, but it's fun, it's easy, it's a buck. Would I rather be on camera? Hell yes. Well, I prefer acting in movies because you have more freedom to make it your own. You don't have to go by network policies and producers who are writers that don't want you to change any words, which is rampant on TV right now. However, that being said, I would die to do Boardwalk Empire or Homeland or Dexter. Um, the cable shows are awesome. Regular TV, not so much. Drew Barrymore was pretty much like she is now, very smart, very precocious, and extremely talented. Oh my God. Well, I can tell you that the horror film that affected me the most was The Exorcist. Um, I also was very taken with Don't Look Now, if you guys are aware of that. If not, you should watch it. It's it's an old classic with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie, and it's all done with brilliant editing and acting. You don't see anything. You don't see anything, but it's incredibly moving and unsettling. Um, I guess what I'm saying is I really like a lot of the older films. Rosemary's Baby. Um, the person I'd like to work most with before I die on my bucket list is Anthony Hopkins. Always wanted to from the day I saw him in Elephant Man. I said, "Oh my God, this man is so talented." Um, the women I'd like to work with, of course, Meryl Streep. I love Sandra Bullock. I love Jessica Lange. She's one of my favorites. And Claire Danes, I think, is one of the strongest, most beautiful actresses we have today. Uh, Yeah, I would just like to be challenged again, really challenged with a part, with a lead part. It's okay. Well, working on the new Lassie was like going home. I love dogs, although Lassie was kind of stupid, I've got to admit. Um, got to work with my husband, Christopher Stone, loved the kids. I had just had my baby. Gabrielle was, I think, 4 months old when we started, or 6 months. And we only worked from 9 in the morning to 6 at night. We had a huge trailer, and my so I had the mornings with my baby. I went to work with people that I loved. Al Burton was our producer, and I adored Al. He had done Together We Stand, one of my other series. And my nanny would, I had it in my contract that I had a 2 hour lunch. So she would bring Gabrielle down, and we would tootle all around Universal Studios in a little golf cart. Gabby's first full sentence was, "Mommy, see big fish," because she loved to go watch Jaws come up out of the water. Go figure. That's my kid. And and then we'd lay down, and I'd put her to sleep, and while she slept, I'd go back in to shoot, and then they'd go home, and then I was home for dinner by 6:30 to have dinner with them. I mean, it was a job that allowed me to be with my family and raise my daughter and still, work in the field that I love to work in. So, I had everything during Lassie. What do I like to do in my downtime? I really like to hang out with my boyfriend. We go to a lot of movies. I love horses. We went horseback riding the other day. Um, I don't have a lot of downtime, but I love dancing. I love to go dancing. I could go dancing every night if somebody would take me. And my daughter and her fiance are living with me right now while their apartment gets built. And so we hang out a lot and, talk about wedding plans and stuff like that. So I have a very, very, very busy, but very balanced life. I insist on, and have always insisted on, family time. Gabrielle went with me everywhere I went. South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. If even in when she was in school, we would take her work and we would get it done while we were gone, and she would go with me everywhere. And so, of course, she's quite a seasoned traveler now. It makes me frickin' proud. I'm so happy for her. She loves it so much. She just loves it. And and what makes me happier is that everyone on a set comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, what a beautiful girl. We just love your daughter. We just love her. Everybody loves her here." And I think to myself, I did a good job, you know. She's very talented, extremely talented. She has all my emotional capabilities. And she has her dad's, she has Chris's authority and strength more than I was. Very strong in my vulnerability. She's very strong in a toughness way with the vulnerability under. So it's a really interesting combination. But I'm thrilled for her. Do I hope she doesn't get hurt? Absolutely. Do I know she probably will? Sure. Because making movies is just a microcosm of living life. You know, we live a very heightened life, but it's really a very good metaphor for life. Um, you know, most people in their lives get turned down or have to go out for a job, what, 4 or 5 times in their life? We do it sometimes 4 or 5 times a day. And so you have to really get a tough skin about it, which I'm helping her with. Oh, dear God. Wow, that's a really, really good question. What would I tell my younger self if I could go back? I think it would be, don't worry what they say, don't worry what they do, Dee. Just keep creating who you are. It's very easy in life, again, but especially in our business, to give your identity and your power away to whether they like you and they hire you or not. And if there's anything I can tell a young actor or filmmaker, it's number one, be authentically who you are, because that's what they're looking for, really. And number two, if you believe the good ones, you have to believe the bad ones. You're the only one that can truly know whether you showed up and did your best. And that's all you have to know. Oh, that would have to be Cujo. When I broke the back window, I wasn't supposed to be able to break it. And Lewis said, you know, we've treated the window, Dee. You can't break it. It's safety glass, but we need you to really, really hit it hard because we're doing this in slow motion. Well, of course, we had rehearsed the whole thing through. Me breaking the glass and then getting in and getting Danny and dragging him out, how I would drag him out because there would be glass, you know, and running up to the farmhouse. So, of course, you know, none of us took into consideration the adrenaline of an actor when they get into a scene. So I think it's the third or fourth hit, and I break the glass. And I don't hear cut. So I keep going. And I pick up Danny, and a little part of me is still Dee Wallace going, you can't frickin' take him across the glass, Dee. That's why I get out in that stupid kind of waddle way, because part of me was conscious enough not to hurt this little boy. And I still didn't hear cut. So we ran all the way up to the door. And then I hear cut. And then Dan Blatt, our producer, runs up and goes, oh my God, Dee, oh my God. And I look down and my arm's all bloody and blood splurting out. And the medic comes and, you know, they wrap it in a flesh colored gauze thing. And Dan looks at me and says, God, I hate to ask you to do this. Can you do it one more time before you go to the hospital? Because literally we were going to be off the farm. So I looked at him and I'm sure I was in shock. I went, okay. Now, obviously the window was already broken, but we could cover me going in and getting Danny just in case, because everybody was so frickin' shocked that I had broken the window that they weren't sure what they got in the rest of it. So we went back, did it again, and then I went to the hospital. Welcome to the life of an actor, you know? Oh my God, you have no idea. Uh, there's never been a role that I've turned down that I've regretted, but there's been a role that I lost, and it was a movie of the week called Adam, about the little boy that had been abducted. And I was doing another movie of the week called Happy with Dom DeLuise. They overlapped one day. They would not let me out from Happy, and they wouldn't wait to do Adam. So Jo Beth Williams got that part, and it really catapulted her career. Uh, I don't have a clue, probably, I guess. Well, I have two radio shows on every week. They're both free call-in shows. You can call in and ask questions about the creation process, or, Dee, I want more money. I know I want more money, but I can't seem to make any money. And my channel is pretty clear about going right to why you can't, and going into your energy field and giving you answers and direction toward that. You can ask about health, you can relationships, anything. Um, my one show is on Monday nights from 5 to 9 Pacific time, and Thursdays from 8 to 9 Pacific time, Thursday mornings. And you can directly get to them through my website on the homepage. The Monday night show is called Bright Lights, and the Thursday morning show is called Conscious Creation. And you can listen over the internet, or you can call in and participate. They're incredibly empowering shows. Uh, the television show that I appeared on that I think really changed my life was the Lou Grant Show. And I played, it was called The Hooker. And from that show, Lynn Stallmaster saw me on that show and brought me in for the final day of auditions for the movie 10. And I booked it. So not only was it an incredible part that I loved doing, but it really led to one of the most beautiful experiences of my career, which was working with Dudley Moore and Blake Edwards. Another TV show that comes to mind is Taxi. I had a fabulous Taxi that I did with Judd Hirsch, and we had a ball, and we, became friends, and it was just, again, a really fabulous role. I think I played an aging, which I find very funny because I did it in my 30s, an aging soap opera actress who they were letting go, and they fell in love, and then she got offered a job in New York or something, I don't know. But again, that led to a lot of opportunities for me. Yeah. Oh, Ed Lauder was just a dear, sweet, sensitive, very strong soul. I loved Ed. He was a rock. And I just saw him a couple of months ago at a charity event. Uh, just, oh, Dee, and big hug. And like, you know, no time had gone by since we'd seen each other. He was a dear man and a wonderful, wonderful actor. Well, I just saw Gravity, um, which I thought was technically amazing. And I think Sandra is fabulous in it, but it's not a vehicle that you really can appreciate the actor that much. Um, you know, oh, what was the name of it? Of course, I don't think that was an independent movie about the fighters. Maybe it was called The Fighter, but it was probably a studio picture too. You know, I don't track whether they're independent. What? Yeah, yeah, loved that movie. Really was touched by that movie. Um, I don't I don't separate whether they're studio or independent, so that's hard question for me to answer. I just look at a movie as a movie. So no, except there's a short that I've written that I would really like to direct, and maybe I will this year. It's a statement piece, and it's something that's very close to my heart. I would only direct though if I have control over what I'm doing, because to have to water down my vision for a studio or something like that, I would just tell them to F off and leave me alone. I don't think it's abusing the system to use Indiegogo and all those things. People have a right to the responsibility of their own decision. If they want to send money, then they send money. Nobody's twisting their arm or, you know, saying you're a bad uh, horror fan if you don't send money for my film. I mean, come on, it's free choice. And I would tell a young filmmaker, get your damn film done any way you can. But I would also tell them, don't do it if you cannot take care of your crew and your talent in an honorable way that respects them. If you don't have, you know, I do a lot of independent films, and the amount of money doesn't necessarily dictate how much you can respect somebody. But if you don't have enough money for dressing rooms, you shouldn't be doing your film. If you know you don't have enough money to feed your crew well, you shouldn't be doing your film. If you don't have enough money to hire makeup and editors and crew that really know their shit and are going to make you look better, you shouldn't be doing your film. So do it any way you can, but do it with integrity. Oh, hell. A quarter of my resume, honey. You know, you take your chances, and some films you do for the money, some films you do for the part, and some films you do because you need to keep your grandmother in her home and, you know, not send her into a nursing home. I've done films for a lot of reasons to keep my family afloat, and I'm proud of it. And if somebody wants to judge me for it, that's their shit. No, it's not. Well, I have a lot of it on my website. I do private sessions every day from all over the world. I speak a lot. I conduct a lot of workshops. I just got back from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and the 1st of November, I will be going to Austin, Texas to be the keynote speaker for Joe Vitale. And then the next weekend, I come back and speak for Sheila Gale at what's calling the Big Hollywood event with a lot of major speakers. Well, I think I addressed that a little earlier. If you're an aspiring actor and you want to get into film and TV, study, know what the hell you're doing, make sure you have a technique that you can depend on, and don't leave who you are. They want you to come in and be authentic. So the most authentic acting is not acting. You have Well, I think studying, yes, and finding your way of studying, of working is really important. I studied with Uta Hagen, one of the greatest teachers ever, but her technique wasn't right for me. I studied with Jeff Corey. I studied with a lot of teachers that were taught, to break things down and create beats and do all that shit that we do on stage, right? My mind and my talent work in an entirely different way. So when I found Charles Conrad, his technique was revolutionary at the time. But for me, I felt like I found home. And it's all based on not working on a part. You get it, you learn your lines, you raise your energy, you literally become a channel for the character. And what that does is, because you don't plan everything out, you're totally, totally there in the moment all the time. I have a series of acting classes via taped acting classes via my website that people can learn that technique, learn the basis of that technique. For me, it was freedom. You don't have to worry about whether you made the right decision, whether you made the right choice. I hate that in acting. And, I had one of the largest acting studios here for 18 years. I hate the choice word, because if you watch yourself in life, you're making 4, 5, 6 choices at the same time. And so to pick one choice really takes away the exciting layers of a performance. At any time when you're frightened, you also go into anger, and you also go into fight or flight. You go into decision making. You go into reaction and wanting to get back at whatever's coming at you. I mean, there's a myriad of things that go on at the same time. So to make a choice about, well, I'm going to play this way, it's not real. And the audience picks that up. You've got to have all that shit going on at the same time, in and out and bouncing all over the walls. If it works for you, then it works for you. You asked me about trained actors. And, it's great if you want to go into a meat market and film a real person in one scene, but to have them carry a film, ain't gonna work. Yeah, well, Robert can afford to say that now, can he? Yeah. Yeah. If you're brave enough to follow your authenticity and go for it, most people stop themselves with an excuse or a reason. He went, screw it, I'm going to go for it, and he did, and he won. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It was fun. I am dwallace.com. And look for zombie killers, you guys. You're going to love this film. Great. Tweet the hell out of it, guys. Thanks. It's been a great time. I really had a great time. Thanks. Love ya.
It's that time of year again. Ghosts.